Alright, what's up y'all? KRCPinto here. I'm hanging out with Axeice once again. Axeice, what's up, man? How's it going?
Pretty great.
So today we're going to take a look at defensive options in Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball gets a bad rep for having minimal defensive options, but that's not necessarily the case. If you dig in a little bit, you can find, first of all, there's a good amount of options and there's some creative ways to use them to defend well. So today we're going to look at like some stuff Axeice would do in a match that you might not have thought of to up your defense game. So Axeice, first of all, let's talk about super dash in the air, because I know this is something you brought up when we've played before. It's something that you think people should do more. Do you want to take it?
Yes, a lot of things in this game has a lot of answers to it. For example, if your opponent super dash, a lot of the times you're gonna 2H it if you have the time and nothing's on the screen trying to hit you out of the 2H. But one annoying thing about super dash is what can you do if you're in the air? There's a few tactics that a lot of pro players do, and I think it will help you not lose your turn and keep your self in check and your opponents in check too. So one thing I will give you an example is when you double jump, you are unable to jump again. But a lot of things people don't know is that if you get super dashed in the air, you would get your jump back. So for example, I double jump here and now I got my jump back. So technically you have 3 jumps if they're trying to make an offensive call. And with that, you could backdash and back off of them and keep the distance between you from them and the assist calling, because you might fall into the assist and you don't want that. So you could do this and then do a backdash, or even go in if you're crazy enough and try to start offense then.
If you're crazy enough, yeah, use the forward dash, right?
Yeah. And one thing that you could do, but it's very hard because you have to time it very well, is that when you're in the air, you could jab the super dash. And with certain characters, it's easier than others. With Goku Black, his jumping light is not the biggest hitbox, so you have to time it a little harder. But with something like Jiren, you could time it a lot easier. And I will give you one good example right there. And with him, you could get a full conversion too and get nice damage. So you could get a nice timing too from this. And every character could do this, but like I said, some characters has an easier way of doing it like that. And this is one good way to keep your opponents. Okay, wow, he knows what he's doing. Let me not super dash, because you could die from that. You could get a lot of damage on them and they will make them afraid.
Do you find it's easier to air jab people than it is to like jump 2H them?
Jump 2H is very dangerous because it doesn't give you anti-air frames like if you was on the ground. So the game would tell you if it's an anti-air, and a blue circle around your character would tell you if it's an anti-air. A fun fact about that.
That is good to know. I never considered that the jump 2H didn't have those properties in the air. That's just not something I've ever thought about, but that does make sense. No blue circle.
Yeah, the only one that's like kind of crazy enough to do it and is safe is like Vegeta's. Vegeta's recovers really quickly and he could get a lot from it, especially in the corner like base Vegeta.
Oh, but that's, yeah, that one's
yeah, that's
so
character
fast.
Specifics. Yeah, it's very fast and he recovers basically instantly.
Gotcha. Okay, good stuff to know. So if you get super dash in the air, you get your air option back, and if you see it coming from far away, poke them.
Yeah, if you have a great button like Z-Bally, this character hitbox is very great. Look at that. You could hit a character from a mile away and still punish. You could press this really easy, and some characters has like easy hitbox to do this, and then convert into a full combo and get really good damage. So keep that in mind depending on what characters you have.
Alright, so we've talked about your air options with super dash incoming, which I think is something a lot of people have to deal with. Axeice, I have something I deal with all the time that I want to ask you about, and I need your wisdom on it. So a lot of the times when I'm stuck in a block string, my brain just wants to jump out of it really badly, and I'll try to go for a jump and I'll end up getting stuffed Could you explain why that happens and how I could maybe improve my gameplay a little bit on that front?
When you try to hold up back, a lot of old school players like to call that chicken blocking. And a lot of games, you were able to hold up back and the game wouldn't punish you because the game will still let you block even if you jump instantly. In Dragon Ball, there's a few frames when you jump and is unable to block. So I have S Broly here for an example where he is jumping for the first as soon as he can. So if I do a true string here, he doesn't get hurt. But if I stagger my strings just slightly, he tries to jump and he's unable to block while he's jumping. As you can see, there's all guard and he's blocking everything. But as soon as I delay my string just a little bit, he gets hit because he's trying to jump out of the situation. There's only a few times where you know with certain strings is okay to jump out of it, but the best time is for command grabs. The best way to not get hit by command grabs is to jump because it's frame 1 invincibility to grabs. So that's one thing that's very good to keep in mind.
The jump is frame 1 invincibility to grabs.
Yes, it's very hard to do that for Dragon Rushes, but for every command grab in the game, it's very easy to just jump out of it. And it's easier to punish them for it too, because you jump and then you could press a button and land on them. Not true for everyone, but not a lot of the people who does have a command grab could be punished like that if you are fast enough.
Okay, that's good to know. Is there a benefit to jumping out of command grab? Because I know, like, me personally, sometimes I like to try to react to a command grab and jab it. Would you say that jumping is maybe the better option there, or is it kind of a niche option?
Jumping is the universal best way to get out of things. Certain characters like Goku Black, you could jump full screen and then super dash it, which is a really good way to punish it. But if you have a character like S Broly, you wanna jump it because it comes out really fast and you cannot jab it. So let's just say you are a human, which we are, who's watching this, and you react to a jab 3 or 4 frames, which is not a lot. That's out of within a second. In the block string, you will get outbeaten by command grab, and that's only 4 or 5 frames. That's literally how much internet lag is when we play on Dragon Ball, and you will get beaten by command grab. But if they jump on frame 5, which is the same thing as they mash in, they are safe. You see how close that command grab is coming, but they are safe and they are able to maybe punish you or at least get out of that situation, because with S Broly, his command grab recovery is very fast. So if you jump very late, it is hard to punish him. So keep that in mind too. So it's not always, it doesn't mean you could always punish them either.
I would like to point out that the grab you have Broly set to do is his EX, which is also an anti-air grab and a ground grab. So really just proving, not that we need to prove, but proving that the jump is grab invincible.
Yeah, so there's... Oh! A perfect example is Master Roshi. Now, this move is a command grab. So people like to call it unblockable, but it's actually a command grab. One thing about this move is that you could jump through it. If you backdash also gives you iframes or invincibility to command grabs. So this move people think is very good, but in competitive play, everyone jump and backdash. So a lot of the times it's just gonna miss, and it's you got to keep that in mind too. So how to get out of air command grabs, that is one way to do it. If you don't have a backdash, then yeah, you just kind of screwed at that point.
That's similar to, I've seen a lot of people say that one of the best ways to deal with Z Broly is backdashing out of his grab options. Although jumping, I think from your perspective, is the better choice there too.
Yes, because with Z Broly, you don't want to backdash on the ground, because if he does literally any move, you will get blown up for it.
So let's talk about Dragon Rush now, because you said that the jumping is not ideal for getting away with Dragon Rush, but that is like the cast universal primary throw. So what's something you could do to deal with DRs when you're on defense? Is there a good way to handle them?
One good way, as you saw an example, is to super dash. If you super dash before the Dragon Rush hits you or touches you or contact with you, you are able to bypass you be on the ground, and then you get hit by the super dash, as example here. If my opponent is trying to super dash a DR, but they are too late with it, a lot of the times they could tech from it. It's not very consistent, but if you want to try to punish them instead of not breaking it, that's one good way of doing it. But it's inconsistent, as you can see from there. Well, that time it worked, but sometimes it doesn't work, like now. So you have to keep that in mind, that tools like that is not always 100% guaranteed.
And yeah, what would you recommend for someone who's trying to deal with DR? Do you think it's worth putting a lot of stock in super dashing it over trying to tech it manually? You know, what do you think comes easier?
For me, I like to tech with jabs, because my finger, I like to my thumb that rests on the jab button, on the light button. So when I see a DR, I'm able to press it faster than pressing down R2 button. It's a better way to punish it, but if you think you don't have the reaction time or want to be safer, you could just have the jab. You could always be ready to jab your opponent's DR, and if you do it quick enough, you actually could punish it, or they space it really badly, for example, like that. So both of those things could be really good. It depends on how confident you are by pressing the super dash button or the jab button.
Okay. I think this is a defensive tool I've seen you specifically use, and I don't know if a lot of people use it because it is character specific, but let's talk about punishing with full screen supers.
In this game, there's a lot of moves that's called specials, and if you do certain specials, you're stuck in the animation until you hit your opponent or their assist, and until you do, you cannot vanish, or you have to wait until your move is completely finished. For example, this beam. There's a lot of ways to properly punish, and if you're not in the air a lot of the time, it's kind of hard, and you could, try to risk and try to punish them if you're fast enough and able to react. But some characters has every character has level 3, which it gives you invincibility, and if you know the move is coming, you're able to delay it and able to react a lot more easier because it has invincibility frames, and punish them full screen for it. Same thing with 17 DP, where is a frame 1 invincibility, and it goes from full screen and it tracks. So no matter how high you are, it could punish you. So it's really nice. And depending on what they do, you could be Galaxy Brain and try to punish them. So if he didn't have meter there, he wouldn't be able to vanish, and I would have punished him right there and then. It depends on what characters. If your opponent has a Goku that could beam in the air, or have a dedicated move, you wanna maybe outsmart them. So be careful with that, because they could vanish too if they're not close enough to your level 3.
Is there a time where you think it's like really worth it to punish this way, because you are giving up the resource of 1 full bar at least to do a super, and they're gonna end up with all blue health left over, right?
Yes, most of the time, if the super is frame 1 invincibility, but if it's not, for example like this, they will not leave with blue health, and you get a full punish too.
Okay.
It's very situational, but these situationals what makes a game class much more faster, or a situation where, wow, this time it could have came in handy. It happens to me where I did a move, I was very committed, and my opponent didn't know he was ready to 2H, so I got level 3 mid committed move, and I got blown up for it.